For more on this, let's go live now to Nadia Romero in Atlanta for the very latest. Nadia, neither of Georgia's Republican senators drew a majority on election day, so we have two very special rematches. What are these early results telling us?
And Julie, that's exactly right. They didn't reach that 50% threshold, and so now we're doing this runoff election, a special election tonight. So as we look at those numbers coming in, both campaigns are going to be cautiously optimistic, but they're also going to be taking it all in and pumping the brakes a little bit, taking a minute to pause, because when you look at those results, you have to remember what's in and what's not in. So as you mentioned, many of those mail-in ballots, those early voting ballots have not been accounted for, and they lean more heavily Democratic. We also have military ballots. 17,000 military ballots are still outstanding. Those tend to lean more Republican. And those ballots have to be postmarked today, but they don't have to arrive until Friday. And when those arrive, those 17,000 ballots really matter, because if we look back to November 2020 in the general election, the presidential election, Joe Biden beat Donald Trump in the state of Georgia by less than 12,000 votes. So 17,000 military ballots still to be counted could make a big impact, swinging this election in either way. That's why the lieutenant governor says we won't know the results on election night, and maybe not even tomorrow, as all of those ballots need to be counted. Julie?
Can we expect those numbers to shift, and by how much? It is so narrow at the moment.
We can expect it to shift back and forth for the next couple of days. How much is the big question out there? You know, the Republicans believe that this was their race to lose, both of the Senate races, because they were the incumbents, right? And so usually it's your race to lose, unlike the challenger that's coming in trying to shake things up. And they really put their hat on the fact that they could bring out more Republicans on Election Day to vote in person. But will there be enough Republicans voting in person to counter the number of Democrats who voted in person today on Election Day, and the large majority of Democrats who participated in that early voting process that lasted for 15 days here in the state of Georgia? That's something that we still don't know. And that's why you're seeing both campaigns who say they're optimistic about high voter turnout, but you're not going to hear anyone give a concession speech or a victory speech anytime soon.
Very cautious optimism. Now, why, break this down for me. Why is this vote so important in terms of Joe Biden's ability to pass legislation in the Senate?
So right now, Joe Biden has the White House, right? He's our president-elect. He's a Democrat. The House is controlled by Democrats as well. The question mark is the Senate. So as it stands, there are 48 Democrats and 50 Republicans. So if both the Democrats win tonight, that would mean that there would be 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans, and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris would be that tie-breaking vote. And that would mean that Joe Biden would have the White House and the House and the Senate. All three different branches of the government would be able to, or three branches of the legislature and the executive branch would all be from the Democratic Party, and he would be able to push through his agenda, his policies, without a lot of pushback, because he won't need to compromise or negotiate with Republicans. But if Republicans were able to win just one seat, they would hold on to the majority in the Senate, and then they could simply say no to Joe Biden's agenda and his new policies that he wants to put forth. They could protect the policy and the legacy of President Trump and say no to Joe Biden. And we already saw this kind of thing play out over the last couple of years. And just recently, when it came to the stimulus checks, the House approved upgrading those stimulus checks from $600 to $2,000 for Americans. It was actually something that House Democrats and the president finally agreed on. But in the Senate Republicans said no, and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell wouldn't even bring the bill to a vote on the Senate floor. That's something that could happen for the next 2 years, the first 2 years of Joe Biden's presidency. That's why he came and rallied yesterday here in Atlanta, Georgia, hoping that people would come out and vote for these two Democrats in order for him to have his party in control of the House and the Senate, and it would be a lot easier for him to get things done the way he sees fit over the next 2 years. Julie?
Nadia, just before I let you go, do you have a crystal ball? When can we expect to know a result?
You know, I have learned a lesson that I hope we've all learned from what we saw in November, that just when you think it's over, it's not. Because here in Georgia, if there is a 0.5% margin between the two candidates, either one of them can call for a recount. And so that could happen for both of these Senate races. They could call for a recount if they meet that threshold, and then we have to wait more times for them to recount all those ballots and to go through this whole process again. So I'd love to tell you that we'll know in like 20 minutes, but that likely won't happen. We have to wait for all those mail-in ballots to be counted and those 17,000 military ballots that don't have to even arrive here in Georgia until Friday. Then they have to be sorted and counted, signatures verified, the whole process. This could go throughout the weekend, but if there's a recount, who knows how long it could take. Julie?
Well, luckily it's not 20 minutes because we'll see you again in an hour. Nadia Romero, thank you so much for your time.